You know, Scientology has gotten involved in social media over the last several months or so. And this popped up on my Instagram feed earlier this week. David Miscavige has his own Instagram page, and there's stated several quote unquote facts about David Miscavige and things that he's accomplished. Well, we're going to fact check those statements and those facts, supposedly, with Janis Gillham Grady, my co-host, and we're going to determine fact or lie. We're also going to show you some TikTok videos that Scientology organizations have been putting out, and we're going to think you're going to find some of them pretty amusing. We want to talk about that in relation to L. Ron Hubbard wanting to have planetary dissemination and marketing, and looks like Scientology is trying to do that, but they're not getting great results. We hope you're going to enjoy this video and you find it informative. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my co-host, Janis Gillham Grady. How you doing today, Janis?
Good, Mark. Good day, everyone, and welcome.
How's your summer going? What are you up to?
Well, I'm here in Kansas right now. We had rain today, but it's been pretty hot. And I'm sitting in a room that I'm renovating, and you can see, up here, where there's no trim yet and a fireplace behind me. And, anyway, I'm enjoying myself, having fun with two of the grandkids. So I have one left in Las Vegas right now that I'll go back to in August. So I'm having a good time, keeping busy.
Yeah. I saw some of the photos of George, your grandson. He's really cute. And then did you saw the latest photos from Megan on Grace? I don't know.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Megan's mom, Amanda, she goes crazy with her iPhone and dresses Grace up in all sorts of little outfits and puts a guitar on her and movie star sunglasses. They're very cute.
They're very, very cute. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason we're doing this video is that recently I am on Instagram, and all of a sudden in my Instagram feed was this Instagram, posting, and it was from David Miscavige, leader of the Scientology religion. And this is his official page on Instagram. And so I started going through it and seeing what's there. And I thought we would comment on it because there's a lot of different statements and things on there as fact. And we would like to, fact check him a little bit on some of the things that are said about him. And so we thought it would be fun to go through some of those. You can see on this video, on this slide right here, he's 1,800 posts. This is since November, and he's got only 4,985 followers. That's all he's got.
That's pretty telling.
Yeah. No, those are Scientologists obviously following. Now, I did check because usually on Instagram posts, you can comment. Well, the comments are blocked. And the only ones are from like public Scientologists saying how great and wonderful he is, right? But anyway, I thought it would be fun to go through some of these things because we have firsthand knowledge about Miscavige and his relationship with L. Ron Hubbard. And the other thing we're going to do too is I've got that Scientology is also on TikTok. And the local org here in Las Vegas has been putting up TikTok videos that Janis and I have seen, and we're going to play a few of them for you, and we're going to comment on them. Now, this all gets down to, L. Ron Hubbard had a strategy, I remember in the 1980s, called planetary dissemination. And that was basically, dissemination is promotion of Scientology, planetary, of course, all over planet Earth. And the idea was to get raw public, new people coming into Scientology through advertising and promotion and marketing, right? And so he set up a whole central marketing unit. He didn't, but I mean, he ordered a whole central marketing unit set up in order to do that, and it never really took off, right?
Well, what's interesting, I think back, and even back on the Apollo, Hubbard was big on marketing. He had the marketing unit set up there. We had a dresso machine there. We had the printer, and we printed all the flyers there, and and sent out magazines every month to every org and Advanced Mag. And, he was big on marketing. And it was all marketing about Scientology services. And even when we moved to Shore, he then got into let's set up central marketing and again, rebuilt it all.
Yeah.
And he would check all the marketing himself. And I remember him going through, you can't say we will, you've got to, you get in trouble. And it's like, we may, so that you can't be nailed down for false advertising. So he was very much into all that.
Yeah, exactly. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
But everything he put for marketing was about Scientology services. It wasn't about anything else.
It wasn't about donations or ideal organizations or anything like that, right?
No, right. It was for donations being payments for Scientology services, not donations for your name on a cabin door or on a plaque. He'd be rolling in his grave if he had one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and then the only really successful public marketing campaign was the Dianetics campaign that Jeff Hawkins and Mitch Brisker were involved in order to, the whole questions ads that ran in the 1980s that shot Dianetics Modern Science of Mental Health up to number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list for months and months. People bought the book. It was in all the bookstores, and they came in, and then they did Dianetics Book 1 auditing seminars in order to get people into Scientology. But then, of course, Miscavige cross-ordered that and took over Jeff Hawkins' unit. And, he has his whole story about, getting beat up by Miscavige and the whole bit. And Miscavige never really, he gave lip service to like, oh, we're going to promote Scientology to all these different people and all that. But to him, it was like a waste of money. I mean, he literally would want to see results on something where advertising takes a lot of money and a lot of time and investment. He didn't have the patience for it. And then eventually, more recently, he set up his own TV network, the Scientology television, which is carried on Direct TV, right? So I checked with ChatGPT to find out, hey, is there any sort of, information on how many people watch, the Scientology TV network? He opened it up about 7-8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Studio, spent hundreds of millions of dollars on equipment, the whole bit, right? Anyway, they put out these shows, and you can see them on, there's one Direct TV channel, but Direct TV doesn't pay for that channel. Scientology pays Direct TV, and according to the information that ChatGPT pulled up, they pay about $4 million a year just to have that channel for Direct TV to run it, because it's like on channel 320 or whatever. They got 600-700 channels or whatever, and that's what they do. And basically, in my opinion, and I talked to Mitch Brisker about this too, it basically just keeps the Scientology donors, the people who are in Scientology, to continue donating money to show that, hey, look at what we're doing. We're doing all this great stuff.
Right. Was Chat able to tell you how many subscribers there were for that channel?
No, because they don't release any of the information or that type of thing. I've checked it. It's very promotional. It's very professionally done, but nobody watches it. And the end result is Scientology keeps shrinking. There's less and less people in Scientology than there were back in the 70s and 80s when you and I were involved,
To be honest with you, I don't think I've ever watched that channel. I've heard about it, but I even forgot it existed, And I'm associated with people under the radar and people, gone, and, no one mentions it. So there's obviously a waste of money there.
ChatGPT told me that our channel, as well as other YouTube channels, probably get more views than the Scientology network does, based on the information that they can come up with. And I wouldn't be surprised with that. I mean, we've got over 11,600 subscribers. Aaron Smith-Levin has like 200,000 subscribers, and you can see Miscavige on his Instagram page has 4,500. It's just like small in comparison.
Right.
So whatever they're doing.
Oh, yeah. So we have like 3 times what he has.
That's right. Shows how successful his marketing is going on, Yeah.
Well,
anyway, let's go through. I'm going to show you some of these images that are on David Miscavige's Instagram page, and I'm going to read them to you here, and we'll show them, okay?
Okay.
All right. So on the left there, it's David Miscavige, and it says L. Ron Hubbard's trusted friend. And I on the photo on the right, I put up there next to it, because there you see L. Ron Hubbard with his hand on the shoulder of Annie Tidman, Annie Broker, who was with him up until the day he died. And,
Right.
and the other messengers are there too, right, Janis?
Well, and I can name them. Right behind his arm, that was Doreen Gillham, my sister-in-law. And then on the left edge with the blonde ponytail, that looks like that's Shelley Miscavige.
Mm-hmm.
And on the right is my sister, Terry.
Right.
And you know, there's a lot more photos of LRH talking with the different key messengers, but David, only towards the end, when he hijacked the communication line to LRH, did he become trusted. But the original LRH writing, I believe that said trusted friends. It was not trusted friend. It was plural. Because and that was based off the false reports being sent up to Hubbard about the mission holders, and that they were trying to take over the church and that type of thing. And Hubbard directed Miscavige, based off Miscavige's false reports, to annihilate the mission network.
That's right. And he ran a whole campaign basically because Hubbard was in hiding with Annie Broker and Pat Broker, and Miscavige basically maneuvered his way into taking over Scientology. He was not the person who L. Ron Hubbard said he's going to be in charge of Scientology. He just assumed that. You know what I mean? He took over that role. He wasn't told that. It was supposed to be an executive director international, a watchdog committee, a religious technical. He just sort of positioned himself. At the time that Hubbard died, he was the chairman of the board of Author Services, which was L. Ron Hubbard's for-profit corporation, not this Church of Scientology International or anything like that.
Right.
So
well, what's interesting is he knows every LRH order or advice, as we would call them, for
the corporate sort out.
The corporate sort out, but they were called LRH advices, not LRH orders, though they were treated like orders. But it was to prevent people thinking Hubbard was controlling the Church of Scientology. And he really was controlling everything based off of the reports, mostly going up from Miscavige, filtering everything and changing people's reports.
Well, and the thing is that he trusted his messengers, and Miscavige was never a senior messenger when Hubbard was around. He was a junior messenger, a traffic messenger, right? He wasn't one of the senior messengers like Annie and Terry, right?
No, when Hubbard was actually around on the lines with messengers there, Miscavige and Shelley were just junior messengers. They were not, they'd just come up from being in training, and they did not do a lot of personal time with him because he was mostly gone during the time that Miscavige was a messenger. And then, as we already said, he then hijacked the communication line to Hubbard, and then he hijacked the authority from Pat and Annie, specifically from Annie. That's who Hubbard left in charge, not even Pat.
Yeah.
It was Annie, and she was supposed to be the Inspector General, and through RTC. And when he took over RTC, he even changed what that was supposed to be doing.
That's right. Let's go on to the next one, okay?
Okay.
All right. By age 18, David Miscavige had become the individual L. Ron Hubbard called upon to carry out his most important assignments. And I put on the other side there, that's a photograph of David Miscavige, and he was 18 years old there. So that's what he looked like then. Now, at 18, was he the individual that LRH called on for his most
No, he hadn't even hijacked the communication lines at this point.
Yeah.
He was, he was a cameraman, but he was a cameraman. That doesn't give you any director authority or anything like that.
Well, I was going to say one of the things on the Instagram saying is like the evidence of this was he was the cameraman on the movie shoot crew, but the movies were horrible. I mean, they had to redo them all with professional camera people. So to say that he was, a good cameraman was a complete lie.
Yeah, that's true. Because he was the cameraman on most of those 10 films that Hubbard came back and said, these are terrible.
Yeah.
But the cameraman takes the pictures. Well, there is a director who's actually directing everything. Dave was not even the director. He had no authority except for, capture that scene on the screen.
Yeah.
That was his job. Now, going back to the other one, what I was going to say is he was the assigned mission ops to corporate sort out. So he knew all the LRH orders on how to sort out the corporations and separate them out, and to set up ED-INT, the executive structure, and watchdog committee, and the flag bureau, and all the liaison officers. That was Miscavige's job as the mission ops, to get that all sorted out so that everything was separated corporately, so that if the Church of Scientology International was sued, that it was protected. It protected all the others, so they weren't included in it. It's just like when the Church of Scientology of California was sued, everything was part of it. And that's why they then had to turn that into a shell corporation and create the Church of Scientology International and then all these other corporations. So there was no assets really that could be taken from the lawsuits on the Church of Scientology of California.
Right. Plus also, he, at that time, he was not in charge of the management of Scientology or overseeing Scientology. That was Dee as the CEO of Commoners Messenger Org and the Watchdog Committee chairman, right?
Yeah, that's very correct. Yeah. Dee was in charge, not Miscavige. He was, Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll call this one a lie. It's not a fact.
It's not a fact.
Okay, good. All right, here's the next one. No executive in the church's history ever interacted more with L. Ron Hubbard than David Miscavige. Oh, Janis, what do you have to say about that?
I have to say that's lie number 2.
Yeah, because I think I'm looking at somebody, if not one of the most people who interacted with L. Ron Hubbard more than anybody, including David Miscavige, would be you.
Right, correct. Myself, my sister Terry, Annie, she's passed away. Even Claire Lowing, Claire Rousseau or Claire Maurer or Claire Popham, she was part of it as well. She interacted with Hubbard much more than DM.
Yeah.
And DM, he came in at 16 years old, and he spent a couple of months with Hubbard before Hubbard disappeared after the IRS raid. And then he spent some time again with him as a cameraman or a video in charge. And that was for just a few more months. And when we were living at X in Hemet, he avoided going to X to do messenger watches because he was too busy being a watchdog committee member when they were just starting that up. So he actually had one of all the messengers, he had probably the least face-to-face with Hubbard.
Yeah.
But he had more by being a relay point and passing communications through him and delivering those, meeting with Pat on the side, secretly to exchange communication packs and stuff. But face-to-face, real interaction with Hubbard, no, he's one of the least.
No, as a matter of fact, he never was one of the people to go off with Hubbard when he went off to go into hiding, like Claire did and Dee did and Pat did and Annie did, right? I mean, he never once went on any of those things.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, well, okay, so we'll label that one a lie.
That's lie number 2.
Okay, here's the next one. David Miscavige saw to the purchase and refitting of the 440-foot motor vessel Free Winds in 1986 for the delivery of the highest levels of advancement on the bridge to total freedom. And of course, this is the Free Winds. Now, he had some involvement in that, right? But he wasn't the only person. Am I right?
Yeah, I would have to say it might have been his idea, or an attorney gave him that idea so that they had a place to put the International Association of Scientology, so it was kept offshore and they wouldn't be having to pay taxes to the IRS, So that's probably where the idea came up from. And he might have said, hey, we need to do this. But Mark Yeager was more involved in it than DM was.
Oh, absolutely.
And Biddy Miscavige, she spent her whole life full time, working on this project of getting the ship found. My husband, Paul, was the mission operator to fire out the mission that found the free winds.
And purchase it.
Jens Bogvad.
Yeah.
And he ran him on that mission to get it purchased. And then he ran the different missions to get it renovated, including myself on mission to the free winds to pull off the maiden voyage and, finish the renovations and pull off the maiden voyage. So, and Miscavige, yeah, he would check in on it every now and again, but he was not heavily involved as much as we all were hands-on doing stuff. And I had probably 12 missionaires underneath me to manage to pull everything off in time. Yeah. So it wasn't just me. I had missionaries with me.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Okay, this is a photograph of the Ideal Org in Milan, Italy, Milano, right? And it says 8,000 welcome the church to its spectacular new home. And there's David Miscavige on the right. That's a separate photo also in Milan, right? I checked with Claudia Lugli, who was David Miscavige's stylist for years and has recently written an unauthorized biography of David Miscavige. I asked him, because he's from Italy, I said, did they just open up this mission or this Ideal Organization in Milan? He goes, that was like 10, 12 years ago. It was a long time ago. And he goes, there probably were 200-300 people there, So this is just showing the BS lies about these ideal organizations, which is David Miscavige's hobby horse. He opens them up around the world. And it's his idea. It's not L. Ron Hubbard's. And they raise tons of money and donations rather than having the public use the money for services and go up the Scientology bridge. And then they open up these big, beautiful buildings. And then 6 months later, there's hardly anybody in them. I mean, the Las Vegas org opened in 2010, I think it was. And we recently had somebody who actually went in and interviewed, toured the facility and all that. It's like 20 staff there. And they don't pull full time and they don't have a day in foundation. And yet that's an ideal org,
Yeah, Mark, I've been hearing lately that all these ideal orgs, they're actually falling apart, or the buildings are sitting there empty. There's still some they bought 10, 20 years ago that they've never renovated.
Yeah.
Or the org is trying to get donations and not getting enough. So then IAS steps in and helps them, complete it. But then and they've recruited all these people in on staff under false promises, and they come from other locations like San Francisco. They go into Dallas just so that they can make the deadline and get the place posted up in order for the opening to occur. But it's all fake, and it just collapses over the years because it's not being stably put there as one would normally build an organization.
That's right. All right, let me go on to this next one here. How do people describe David Miscavige? Friendly and interested.
I must say, when you know Dave and you're a friend, he is friendly and he does show interest, or at least he did when I knew him. And he can be very sociable, but he also has a temper.
Yeah.
And that is what these people obviously have not experienced, is his temper.
Yeah, and even like you say, Janis, I've obviously socialized with him as well as worked for him and all that. You're always on the edge because you never know what you might say that might flip that temper switch and he blows up. You know what I mean? Literally, he could blow up about something and you don't even know what it is. And you're trying to guess, well, what did I do? What did I do? And the public would never see that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, literally,
right.
He has bodyguards to keep them away. And then when they do come up, he could be friendly and, like you said, interested in them at time being. But they don't know the abusiveness he has and the temper that he has.
Well, and also he's a very competitive person.
Yep.
I'll never forget that Sea Org day where, we were doing swimming races and stuff like that. and he wanted my sister thrown in the pool.
Yeah.
And she fought for herself and wouldn't let them throw her in the pool. And then he sends them up to her room because they're a bunch of sissies that this girl is stopping them from throwing her in the pool. And they broke in through the window. 16 guys broke in through her window to grab her and drag her down the pool and throw her in. And then Dave's like, see, I managed to get you in the pool. And Terry's like, yeah, it took 16 guys.
I know.
And they all had nail scratches and bites. And I mean, you know, but that's his personality.
That's right. And then not to mention the abuse, the physical abuse, the beating up people, the staff members and this and that. Public people never see that or know that, but
not at all.
And, we all know it.
And a lot of staff don't see that. You've got to be in that close circle to see that.
Yep. That's right. All right. Here's the next one here. So I would say that's a lie. I mean, it's really a facade, his friendliness and all that. So anyway. Okay, so this is for the first time in history of the Scientology religion, the long-sought goal of making all of L. Ron Hubbard's works available in perfect form, exactly as originally written or spoken, in chronological order, has been accomplished. And this is stated as a fact. What do you say to that, Janis?
You know, having grown up on the ship with Hubbard and where he had his own audio-visual unit with Dan Albach in it, and even John Horwich and other people, Hubbard worked with them editing all his lectures so that snaps and crackles and that type of thing were taken out. And you know, that is what he then would release or re-release. He'd already done this work.
Yeah.
Then the work that Miscavige did might have put back in stuff that Hubbard had said take out, plus because DM wasn't there and didn't take any of the notes or anything. And what DM did have taken out was mentions of Susie, Mary Sue Hubbard.
Yeah.
His right, man, his wife. She helped him. She would take his lectures. She's the one that compiled them into books from his lectures and edited stuff and, did the e-meter book and various different things. And she was at every one of Hubbard's lectures. And that's where she said she started smoking because she was hearing the same, so she started smoking. But he talks about her in there and he talks about other people who later got declared. That's all taken out.
Yeah. And we don't know what he's changed because he literally has the X out pen. He could have taken out, changed things, and nobody would say boo to him.
Yeah, we do know he moved commas.
Oh, yeah. He knew commas?
A comma.
I understand. And here, that brings up the next slide I'm going to show here, which is, in order to bring about the golden age of tech, David Miscavige personally reviewed every L. Ron Hubbard original, issue by issue, word by word, comma by comma. And my comment on that is he changed the definition of a floating needle in the end phenomenon. Yes. That's part of the golden age of tech, which is completely squirrel, what he did. And, the metering and all the different things that he changed personally, that was not L. Ron Hubbard that did that. That was David Miscavige. So how anybody can trust that technology if you were a dedicated Scientologist is beyond me. And I know the independent field, they follow the LRH originals. They don't follow the stuff from Miscavige.
Right. And I think from what I've heard, the independent field is having more success with people having wins using Scientology than Scientology's official organization itself. With people getting wrong indications from the false floating needle definition. And you talk to people who are staff and you find out all they got was SEP checks if they were on the meter. They didn't get any actual Scientology processing. We even found that out talking to Amir.
That's right. That's right. And also, like when we talked to Claudio and Renato Lugli, too, like Chick Corea was made to buy and redo the basic books, and he went clear in the 1960s. And he's going like, Why do I need to reread all these things? You know what I mean? They've been changed, you know,
Right.
and you know, other people, when the basic books came out, they had to burn and get rid of all the original books that they had to take the Miscavige ones. So people should not trust the fact that that's the original L. Ron Hubbard words and technology. Anyway.
I totally agree, Mark. The earlier books, the old ones, are more Hubbard than what Miscavige put out and forced people to buy.
Yeah. And then here you see David Miscavige. He looks like he's strolling across the lake from St. Hill Manor in England. I guarantee you that's photoshopped, you know what I mean, based on the size and all that sort of thing. But the one thing I wanted to mention about these photos and all that, he's trying to create an image of himself bigger than L. Ron Hubbard. Do you know what I mean? I was reading through and looking at these photos. There's a lot more of them too. And he basically, you don't see any photos of L. Ron Hubbard in this. It's all about David Miscavige. And it's like he's working on his ego and his image.
He's held on to control, and he's probably increased Sea Org reserves because that is his stats. So, of course, you know, getting donations, you can throw that into Sea Org reserves and buying buildings.
Real estate.
Buying buildings and getting them reappraised every time your stat is down, you can get that stat increased.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let me go in, and here's the next one here. And this is supposedly a fact. Over 100 million L. Ron Hubbard books and lectures have been distributed since the establishment of the church's all-digital publishing house as part of a strategy driven by David Miscavige, okay? Well, okay, so that's saying all the books and all the lectures and all that, there's been over 100 million over the last 20 years. So I had ChatGPT do the math on that to figure out, well, how many would have to be produced weekly and monthly in order to achieve 100 million in 20 years? And basically it works out to, you have to do 416,667 items a month, which works out to 13,699 items per day. And that's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to produce supposedly 100 million items. Okay. Now, we know that Scientology has probably 20 to 25,000 people based off of estimates and at events and that type of thing. They would have to own like 2,500 to 3,000 items each over the last 20 years in order to be able to justify this. Or they've got them all stacked in a warehouse somewhere. So it's just an astronomical lie. I mean, you know, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I do hear of people, they've got them, they're upset they even bought them in the first place. They're in their garage. Yeah. Some people said, oh, I just put them in the dumpster. Some people tried to donate them to libraries, and the libraries refused them.
Yeah.
So that's just a waste of money again.
Again, a waste of money, and just a way to show people that we're trying to get distribution. And you know,
to me, it's like, okay, where's the statistic? If you're a Scientologist and you believe the church should be helped, then good. Where's the statistic of number of clears? Number of OT1 completions, 2 completions, 3 completions, so that you can see, are those people that went clear, are they moving up the Scientology bridge? That's what, as a Scientologist and as a staff member, should be important to you. Not how many books DM has changed and had digitally changed.
And published. Janis, there used to be statistics, though, of how many book buyers there were each week, how many people actually bought a book, and then how many people actually came in the door to Scientology who were a book buyer.
Real bodies in the shop. And then how many actually went on and did the communications course? You know, who cares about number of buildings and square foot renovated?
Yeah, or how many things you printed on a printing press or lectures you copied that are basically sitting in a warehouse, if they even exist at all. Anyway, so we'll label that one a lie, okay?
Yes.
All right. Here's another one here. How do people describe David Miscavige? Superhuman.
Yeah, okay, let's move on.
Super inhumane is what I would say. Super inhumane.
Very inhumane. From the stories I have heard, very inhumane.
That's right. All right. Here's another one. Fact, David Miscavige developed programs to address society's worst ills across more than 195 nations. To that, I have to say, look at the amount of drug abuse, look at the amount of crime, look at the amount of war that's going on, which, the purpose and goal of Scientology is a society without crime, war and all that sort of stuff. And if you can say that things have become more peaceful and all that based on David Miscavige, I've got a Brooklyn Bridge to sell you. One of the comments on here too, one of the facts that I didn't show, but they have, is that they said that he was instrumental in the volunteer ministers program, and that was an L. Ron Hubbard thing, right?
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard did all the photo shoots and everything for the volunteer ministers handbook when we were in Trinidad or, St. Vincent in the Caribbean. And then Hubbard was like, the Guardian's office was to get this program going, to get volunteer ministers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. All right, and then here's a fact. Under David Miscavige's leadership, the Scientology religion has grown to include some 11,000 churches, missions, and affiliated groups across 167 nations. I checked with ChatGPT, which checks on everything, right? And It says basically there's about 75 orgs, worldwide, and some of them are multiple cities have, more than one organization.
75 orgs? So yeah. class 5 orgs.
So based on ChatGPT, looked it up. Based on Church of Scientology official worldwide directory, there's approximately 65 to 70 cities that currently have a Church of Scientology organization, right?
Wow.
But some have multiple organizations like Los Angeles, which has the AO and that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so based on that, if you count how many orgs they have in those areas, right? It's a little bit more than that if you count all the different organizations like in LA and Denmark and UK and that type of thing. It's a little bit more than 75, but not many. So then I asked how many missions, because that doesn't include how many Scientology missions there were, right? And they claim there's 11,000 missions, churches, affiliated organizations. Well, based off ChatGPT, they checked in the 1990s, the church publicly claimed there was 173 missions worldwide, Scientology missions, in 1990. So they would have to have opened quite a few missions in order to achieve 11,000 orgs and missions worldwide, so it's, right. And we all know that things are shrinking. Like the Las Vegas organization, L. Ron Hubbard used to call an organization, there would be two. It'd be a day organization and a foundation organization on the nights and weekends, and that would be two organizations. Well, no, yes. They've combined by Miscavige into just one organization.
Well, and they also took CC Las Vegas and moved that into it. So they moved 3 organizations into one, into the same empty building.
Yes.
And that number you gave, that doesn't, if you count all the countries in Europe and say maybe they all had one org each, and you take every state in the US and all the different organizations that used to be in England and Australia, it's like, wait a minute, that's less than what they used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And you remember what Latam, Mexico, I mean, that was booming. I mean, they were opening up missions and organizations all over Mexico City.
Yeah.
Same thing in Italy and Milan and Italy and all that back in the 70s and 80s,
Right.
It was really hopping. And you don't see that that happening now anywhere. It's just basically another
they're losing organizations.
What's that?
They're losing organizations.
Absolutely. And of course, it's played out by the number of people that are actually in Scientology these days.
Right.
It's just so much less. Okay. Then here's another one here. Then we've got David Miscavige has guaranteed the continued growth and expansion of Scientology internationally, thanks to David Miscavige. I think the guarantee part is grossly overstated, and it's not true. I mean, he has built a real estate empire, and through donations of wealthy Scientologists, right, who are not allowed to read the internet or read books or anything like that, or know the truth about what's really going on. And then they feed out these BS statistics like 100 million items published rather than, like you said, how many people are actually going up the Scientology bridge. So, you know, he's built a wealthy organization in terms of real estate and money, but there's no people there. And that's not what L. Ron Hubbard wanted.
No, you know, Hubbard didn't have, he did have some advisors out there on getting new buildings, you know, but he wasn't into the lavish real renovations that's being done. And if you look at his policies, just have a clean space for people to come into and study and get audited. You don't need, you know, crown molding and tile or marble floors, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. All right. Well, we're going to go on to the next stage of the show, which is going to be fun. Scientology has gotten on TikTok and they're in social media, and they're putting out these little videos here in Las Vegas and in other organizations. Obviously, they've decided we need to get on TikTok in order to communicate to the younger people out there to get them to try and get involved in Scientology. Well, we're going to show you a few of these here, and we're going to comment on them afterward. Okay, the first video we're going to show you, this is from our local organization here in Las Vegas where Janis and I live. And they, like I said, opened up the Ideal organization in like 2010 or something like that.
Well, and let me make a statement on that location. You know, Hubbard says, get a place with a lot of foot traffic. Now, there isn't a lot of foot traffic these days. Everyone drives everywhere. Yeah. But putting an org on a dead-end street
in a neighborhood on the east side, old part of town where nobody can find it unless you have your GPS is ridiculous.
Exactly. I went there when it was a Jewish synagogue. I went there for a friend getting married, so I know
before Scientology bought it, right?
Yeah.
I know. It's really funny where it's at. It used to be actually nearer to the Las Vegas Strip, and even then it was in a bad part of town. But anyway, let me show you this first video, and we'll comment afterwards.
Okay.
The Church of Scientology, Las Vegas. Wait, actually, before we go in, there's 3 things everyone needs to know about Scientology. 1, we welcome all religions. Yep, you heard that right. We welcome all religions. 2, we do believe in God. We just don't tell you which God to believe in. That's up to you. And 3, Scientology was founded by L. Ron Hubbard, who holds the Guinness World Record for most translated and published author of all time.
Okay, well, let me make a comment. First of all, you know, the woman the young woman in the video, I mean, she's very presentable and this and that. She's very happy and that type of thing. And she's wearing a uniform and all. And then she answers these 3 questions. And I would say the first 2, I don't agree with, that Scientology welcomes all religions or lets you believe in any religion or, you know, tell you about God, right?
Having grown up on the ship where everyone was a Scientologist, I didn't understand when someone would say, well, I'm Jewish or he's Jewish. No, he was just a person from the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, and he was a Scientologist, but he did, you know, he still had some of his Jewish traditions.
Yeah.
You know, so I do agree but once you're in, you can't practice Judaism or Christianity. But we did have some crew at Christmas who would go ashore to a church and, you know, do their offering or whatever they do in a Christian or Catholic church. So there are people who do things like that, but you pretty much, as time goes by, you forget, and that's what you did as a kid, and you're just Scientology.
Yeah, Janis, it was called mixing practices, and that was an ethics situation. You know what I mean? If you were still going, you know, to a Christian church while you were getting auditing, that was considered not okay.
That is very true. Yeah. Even going to a chiropractor was considered mixed practices when I was a kid.
That's right. Okay, this next video is also Las Vegas, Oregon. They're going to take us on a little tour of the organization. So let's watch this one.
What's inside every Church of Scientology? Let's go.
1, a reception. Say hi, Roseanne.
Hi. 2, a public information center for you to tour anytime.
3, an L. Ron Hubbard office as a symbol of respect.
4, an e-meter to help you locate the true source of stress.
5, a film room to enlighten you on all of our services and our beliefs.
6, a bookstore where you can get copies of L. Ron Hubbard books and lectures.
7, a chapel for Sunday services and seminars.
8, a Scientology course room where you can achieve self-confidence and improve your communication.
9, a free personality test to show your strengths and weaknesses.
You know, Mark,
Yeah.
you know, it's a start.
Yeah.
But where are the people?
There's no people. That's the thing.
Right. Where are the people?
There's nobody in there, just these staff members, and they're very presentable and they look great in their uniforms and it's a clean space. But
Yeah.
there's nobody there. There's nobody in the course
Yeah.
room. There's nobody there in the bookstore. It's just
My advice to them is get some people in the shop and then do your TikTok.
and then she had to tell the receptionist to say hello.
Well, she's not used to saying hello because people don't come in.
That's obviously by the number of people that are there, you know. But I will say this: they are presentable, and you know, they seem like they're earnestly trying to do something.
They're
You know what I
trying.
mean?
They're trying, but if they're gonna do it, show some people.
Okay, well then I got this next one here. This is also the Las Vegas, Oregon. This is kind of a shorter version, and this is a dancing tour. All right, let's watch this one.
Again,
There you have it.
where are the people?
No people. All
That's
right,
the biggest sell point.
yeah, exactly. It's like the biggest omitted. It would be a data series drill to find
Right.
what is the biggest outpoint that you see in that video, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go to a fun video that we saw that is actually pretty silly. Okay, and I'm just going to let this one speak for itself.
Very hot and burning question yesterday.
Can we eat Pringles in Scientology?
Okay, boy, that really made me want to go up the bridge. How about you, Janice?
You know, I think they're trying to show that they're normal.
Or they're hip or something. I mean, it's
They're
just,
hip. They're not strange.
okay, here's one from the Church of Scientology in Minnesota that I saw. And this has a Dianetics involved in it, and it moves pretty quickly. So you got to,
Okay.
we'll talk about it afterwards because you got to kind of understand it. So here we go.
Okay. Okay.
That's it. Okay. At the very beginning, you see her hold up a Dianetics book. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the next person's holding a trophy. The next one's holding a cake. And then the last one's got this brand new handbag, you know?
So does that mean that as Scientologists, they can create magic? Make things
I guess,
appear?
I mean, or if you read Dianetics, that all of a sudden you're going to have a cake and you're going to win a trophy. And, you know, the next thing you know,
You get a purse.
new Chanel purse, you know?
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay, and then I got one more. This is a kind of another funny one here that I saw. Again, this is from our friends here in Las Vegas, and then I've got a couple more I'll show you. But anyway, one second here. All right, this is another one from Las Vegas. All righty there. So there, I guess they're trying to be hip because that's one of the things I did notice about their, you know, the videos before was that the young ladies had tattoos, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's kind of like the image with young kids these days, right? But they're making a big deal out of this whole thing about tattoos. And how's that Scientology?
So what if someone has tattoos? That's their choice.
Exactly. But they're trying to make it look like, oh, yeah, in Scientology, you can have tattoos and all that. It's just.
Well, of course, you probably already have the tattoos before you come into Scientology.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, this next video is also from Scientology, Minnesota, and this has to do with, they're talking, it's hard because it goes by fast and it's hard to read, but basically they're saying, we're getting ready for our Netflix documentary where they interview real Scientologists about Scientology. So that's what the message is here. So I'm going to show this one, then I've got a different one to show. Okay, now I'm wrong. That was actually Las Vegas as well, because I noticed our same young ladies there. You know what I mean? Okay, so that was put out there, but then it was responded to by a friend of ours, Janis Miscavige, who was David Miscavige's niece, right? And her father is Ronnie Miscavige, David Miscavige's brother. And Jenna, of course, has been speaking out for a long time. She wrote a book after she left Scientology and all that. And anyway, so she speaks out on the internet, particularly on TikTok. So she decided to respond to this video here, and I'm going to go ahead and play that. Well, that's what she's saying. She's saying basically, that was the Minnesota one doing the same thing. Obviously, they have the other different churches doing this thing, right? That's the message to get out there. But Jenna's going like, yeah, go ahead. Then they'll interview me and you'll really find out the truth. That's basically Jenna's response to that, And then I'm going to show one last one here. And this is another one from Jenna that I think is really, this was her first, one of her first ones, I think, that she put out on TikTok here. And I thought it was pretty effective. And, this is what basically, Scientology, I guess, is trying to duplicate and respond to. So here we go.
Hi, Uncle Dave.
And welcome.
Thank you.
You've probably heard of Scientology.
Oh, you bet I have.
In fact, every 6 seconds, someone searches the question, what is Scientology?
That's right, and they find out that it's a cult. My name is Janis Miscavige. My uncle's the leader of Scientology, and I escaped when I was 22. In my last TikTok post, I said I'd be posting the next day, and then I suddenly disappeared. Whenever that happens, people worry and wonder if Scientology got to me. And this time, if you were worried, you would be right. My last post was about Scientology's practice of targeting, injuring, lying about, and suing their perceived enemies. And almost immediately after I posted it, they did exactly what they're known for. They came after me and the people who I love hard. It's been constant, overwhelming, and exactly the kind of pressure they hope will shut someone up. But I'm here and I'm back, and no matter how hard they try, they won't get me down. I want to thank you all for being here and listening. What I ask is simple but powerful. Share my story. The more people who understand what Scientology really is, the better. Especially in law enforcement, government, and courtrooms where the truth matters the most. Thank you so much for the empathy, kindness, and support you guys have shown to me. It means so much to me and to the others who've grown up in Scientology.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, good for Jenna. She she's had a rough time, and she hasn't given up on the fight for herself and for the other kids that grew up with her, through the neglect of children. And we covered that in that interview with Jamie.
Mm-hmm. Jamie Mustard, yeah.
Yes.
And we've had quite a few other people too who suffered from abuse as well. Right. But Jenna is out there and she's doing a great job. I mean, okay, her TikTok videos get tens of thousands of views. Okay, like these ones that we showed from Scientology, they're lucky if they get 500 or 600 views. I saw one that was like 3,000 or whatever. But it's just they're trying to combat an image and a problem that was created by Miscavige in the 1990s that has never been handled. You know what I mean? Right. You're never going to get anybody, if you're interested in Scientology, until you acknowledge the fact of the abuses and get rid of it, the fair gaming, get rid of it, the disconnection, get rid of it. Unless you do a clean slate on all this stuff, nobody's going to take them seriously.
No, that's totally correct, Mark. You know, the disconnection is very, very key on this. And if they got rid of the disconnection and TikToked about that, maybe they'll get more views and more people interested. But as long as disconnection and abuse is going on, it's not going to happen no matter how much false advertising they try to do. It's not going to happen because the internet is their biggest enemy.
It is, and Miscavige is always behind the 8 ball on this stuff. You know what I mean? He was behind the 8 ball even on like the lectures and the recordings. Oh, everybody's doing CDs. No, we're doing tapes. Then you like, oh, let's do CDs. No, now it's digital. You know, he's just constantly behind. Although he claims that he's ahead of the game on audio visual stuff, but he's always behind what's happening in the world. And right now, the social media is the big thing, and they're getting buried by it. Just on YouTube. I mean, our videos, like we said before, we get more views than they do on their channel and on different things that get put out.
Yeah.
So anyway, I agree with that. And then of course, Miscavige, that Instagram page for him, it's just all a PR image. You can go and see people out there. You can check it out. There's a bunch of others. There's people there making testimonial statements about David Miscavige, but it's all about him. It's nothing about L. Ron Hubbard if you're a Scientologist. And it's almost like he's trying to build up his image before he's gone. So
it's interesting. Well, it's all Miscavige. All the other executives have disappeared. But if you go back to the St. Hill days when it was booming and the Auditor magazines, there was a little about Hubbard, but it was mostly about the people on course, the people going through the services, the staff members. That's what it was all about. And
the wins they were having.
The wins they were having, even the weddings, the children being born, all that stuff, the latest news internationally. But the key thing was the wins coming out from the people receiving standard technology the way it's supposed to be delivered, not with the fake floating needles.
That's right. Well, if you enjoyed this video, I also wanted to mention we did do a video recently with Claudio and Renato Lugli, and there's a book out that they wrote, David Miscavige, The Secret Leader in the Shadow. It's an unauthorized biography. And if you're interested in more details about David Miscavige and the real truth, not the lies, okay, read this book. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I know a lot of people have ordered it, that saw our interviews with them, and you can get it on Amazon.com. It's written by Renata and Claudio Lugli. And so I wanted to mention that now that since we've been talking about Miscavige on this show, and that book covers quite a bit of the real truth about him. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too, you need to buy Janis's book, Commodore's Messenger, Book 1. There's Janis with L. Ron Hubbard at 13 years old on the Apollo. No one, in my opinion, was closer to L. Ron Hubbard during her teenage years than Janis and the other messengers, particularly Janis, 6 hours a day, 7 days a week on the flagship Apollo. That's Book 1, and this is Book 2. That's Janis again with L. Ron Hubbard. Miscavige would drool over the amount of time that you got to spend with Hubbard. You know what I mean? It's just not even close. It's the fact that
no comparison at all.
Yeah. Where you can order these books down below in our merchandise. There's also, you can click on it. You'll see the products come up and all that, but you can get autographed copies. You can order these on Amazon, but you get autographed copies if you go to our merchandise store. Janis will autograph them to you and send them to you in the United States. So order, this is Book 2 and this is Book 1, Commodore's Messenger. Lots of photographs in there, people. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you should definitely order Janis's books. Right, Janis?
Thank you, Mark. Yes.
Okay, everybody. The last thing I wanted to mention is please subscribe to our channel. Rock slam that like button. Hit that notification button, Janis likes to say. It helps to get our videos out to other people so they can watch them and that type of thing. Also, if you have any questions or comments about what we talked about here on the show, please go down below. We read them all. We will answer them as best we can. And we look forward to any feedback that you might have. If you'd like to support our channel financially, you can donate money by buying us a coffee. There's a link in the description down below. And again, it just offsets the expenses we have on putting out these videos because we don't put them out. It's not free. There is expense involved. It definitely helps when people do donate money. So anyway, we hope that you can help us out with that when needed. That's the show, Janice. Have you got anything else you'd like to say before we end off?
Just we'll see you next video.
Yeah, and we've got some other good videos. We've interviewed somebody that we're not finished with yet, and then of course we know everybody really liked the Lisa Halverson video with the Larry King Live show with Heber Gents. We got a lot of views on that too, and we're just going to keep on keeping on putting out these videos, and we hope you all enjoy them.
That's right.
Okay.
Bye.
Till next time, everybody. Bye-bye.